Welcome back to Taboo Talk with Sarah, the podcast that breaks the silences, fosters hope, and tackles the tough stuff so you never have to feel alone. If we haven't met before, I'm your host, Sarah Jordan Ross. I'm a wife, I'm a mum of 3 amazing boys, and I've spent the last 25 years in the health and wellbeing space as a massage therapist and wellness coach, and holding space for real, honest conversations, because that's where I think healing happens. Now, they're the kind of conversations you won't always find on the Facebook highlight reel, but they're the ones we need to be having. And today's conversation is a special one. My guest is someone I've recently connected with through our shared involvement with the Los Angeles Tribune. And I've been inspired by the way she leads, lives, and lifts up others. She's a powerhouse leadership coach, a speaker at the upcoming Leadership Week, and the founder of the Mentoring Effect. Please welcome Alex Terrey. Alex, I am so glad you could join us today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. And it's really, honestly, it's super pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, so let's get into it. You've built and led businesses around the world, from Europe and the Caribbean, and now you're here in Australia. But I know the version of success that you've got today didn't come without some bumps and burnout along the way, and probably a couple of identity shifts. Can you unpack that a little bit for us? Tell us when you realized that things needed to change, when the old way of doing things just wasn't cutting it anymore.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. It's very interesting because I think there was a lot of different shifts. Like when you going, the first shift was a big one from when I was in Slovakia, back home where I'm coming from, and I was running my business, and it was quite good. Like it was for 8 years, it was working well. We were doing some amazing events, and we had some amazing connections and clients. And I was on the top of the world, right? I was very young and I was like, wow, this is easy. I can do everything. And I built up this massive trust, right? I was like, everything is possible. And it just became probably, I would say more ego driven world. Like I just wanted to try everything. I just wanted to be cool. It was all about that time. And I sold the business and I moved to Thailand, and I was like, yeah, let's open coffee shop. Let's do something that no one does, right? It was driven by that. It was just more about adventure. It was more about trying new things and putting myself in the places that I have no idea how I will build up the business or how I will live there. I didn't know the language. I didn't know anything. So it was more, I think, pushing boundaries probably and trying or probably testing the luck.
Yeah.
I would say so. So that was very different way of how I lived, I guess. It was more about me. It was more selfish. And look, it was fun. Definitely, it was fun that time. And after that, when I sold the business in Thailand after a few years, I came back home to Slovakia and I was like, okay, what's now? And I was like, let's go on the other side of the world and let's go to Bahamas. And I was looking at a map, other side of the world was exactly Caribbean, and said, okay, let's go there and try something there. So it was all very, I don't know, very happy, easy, fun, even though it wasn't easy, of course, to build up business. It was coming with a lot of challenges, but when I look at life now, I was overcoming that from different perspective, different, I guess, different personality, different identity. And when I moved to Perth, that was first one before I live here in Brisbane, I kind of got slapped a few times. And that was when I kind of woke up and I was like, wow, okay, so let's be real. I'm old enough. Something needs to shift. Like I'm just living this fun life, but now it's becoming not fun. And I couldn't find a job when I moved to Perth. And I was like, wow, how come that I mean nothing, right? So that was when I started to struggle a lot with my identity, like who I am, who I'm going to be, or what I thought that I achieved and it was, cool and it was great. It wasn't any more cool and no one else perceived that way. So I kind of felt like I'm losing myself and I couldn't find a job for a long time because of, no right visa, no connections, nothing. So it was pretty tough. And I sent out 1024 CVs and I got 0 interviews. So I would say there's something wrong with recruiting system, but that's another conversation we can have, what I found out later on. Another thing that is really tough with immigration, of course, but when we go, to the life, I was like, okay, so what I know how to do is business. So I had to set up another business because I had to make money. So I had to leave and actually pay for a house, pay for food, and yeah. So that was kind of when I was feeling very down, very much I didn't know who I am. Like I totally lost myself because I wasn't sure what is my expertise, what is actually what I love. Yeah, I was very lost. And plus into that space, 2 years in Perth, came another trauma, another personal trauma that I realized I had ectopic pregnancy, and I realized that I can't have kids afterwards because I lost my fallopian tubes. And basically, we went through a lot of IVFs, and it was just miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage. And you can imagine, being on hormones and trying to achieve something that is out of your control. It was another identity shift, I guess, when you realize that, wow, I can't even do the major thing that all women should be able to do, right? And bring
The hard
kids into
one.
the world. Sorry?
That's a really hard one because, yeah, we think having a baby is going to be easy or
Yeah.
breastfeeding is going to come naturally. It's what everybody does. But when we don't fit into that or when we can't do that, it affects how we see ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was basically when you look at all the circumstances, it was, financially. So I lost totally the major needs for security, safety, and being able to take care of myself, even though I was slowly starting, but it just took so long. And I couldn't find a job, so I felt like I'm not worthy. I can't actually give back. I can't contribute. So there was nothing to contribute to, and now I can't contribute at home as well as a woman, and I can't actually bring kids into the world. So it was like all these turmoil of things where I actually became sad and bitter, angry, frustrated. You can
All the
imagine all of things. Yeah. So that was probably the lowest peak, and like when you look at the, highest peak you can have, when you're on the top of the world, and that was my traveling and having businesses, and now I was in the lowest, and I honestly didn't know what to do. And that's where kind of that personal growth, self-help, how I get rid of the fear, and how do I become again the person that I was before, happier, and trusting myself. And I was looking at those two different things, two different states and identities where we can live. And that's the one that doesn't trust self at all and feels like nothing. And the one that trusted, even silly way, right? Even naive way, trusted and believe that can achieve everything. So I had those like a really big two personalities, and I saw it and I was like, wow, I want to be rather that I was before. Of course, with a little bit more, I guess, experience and taking that from different angle a little bit. But I was looking at it like, I don't want to be this. Like that's not me. And that was my kind of start of transformation and learning about everything about psychology, neuroscience, biology, physics, everything, because I tried to find a way how to actually get out of it.
Yeah. Which brings us nicely to a couple of questions that I had for you. One was about your work with the CEB technique. So blending cognitive, emotional, and behavioral things together. But then there's something that you talk about and I really resonate with, and I think we've touched on it already. It's that identity work, that how we see ourselves. You call it a neuro-identity shift. I, on previous episodes, have called it becoming, that shifting from where you are to where you want to be, but also to who you are.
Yeah.
But most of us don't wake up one day and decide to become somebody new. It's usually after that period of we've had the high, we've hit the low, we're stuck, we're scared, we're confused, we don't know what we're doing, we're completely out of alignment. So I suppose the question is, how do we notice when we're in that, recognize those moments, and then shift into those processes that are going to help us to get
Mm.
where we're going? So
Yeah, I think there are two sides of that, how you can kind of notice. I think that one thing is the result, right? So results that you're achieving. So for example, you look in your health, you look at your finance, you look at your career, you look at your relationships. You're looking what you're creating basically around yourself. So I believe environment is big reflection or is like a mirror. So if you don't like something, something is going on inside. So that was my kind of first thing. Like I can't find a job, I can't make money, and I thought, that thought process, I can't. It was already wrong, right? So, but it was felt like there is a wall, in front of me, and all these beliefs and things that I started to build up, they become my reality. So what I was seeing was the environment, and the other thing that we can notice, I always said, notice how you feel. And this doesn't mean that we need to all day checking the feelings and emotions because that become a little bit, on other side and dangerous.
Yeah.
It's more about, okay, I feel resistance. I feel anger. Okay, so I'm frustrated, right? So what am I frustrated about? Like, what is making me frustrating is actually me. So it's my reaction, my belief about the situation. So for example, I was very frustrated when I saw people, they drinking alcohol and they're on drugs and they have 4 or 5 kids and I couldn't have one, right? So for me, that time, that was the biggest kind of trigger point. So I had to work through. I said, wow, so basically is anger and jealousy and everything what was coming out. I said, okay, so what if I look at, that picture from love perspective? So I was bringing different sorts of emotions into my life and questions, what would love do? And I think that question, I don't know actually who said it, but I believe that was one of my mentors or one of my teachers. But he said, just ask question, what would love do? And I was like, that's just a fantastic question, because what would love do is always, you know what, I love you. You know what, this is great. This is life. And life, we think is not fair or is fair, but it doesn't matter, it's life.
Yeah.
So love would accept and have compassion. So I started to learn through that. So reflection of the environment and the emotion. So when we are triggered, to recognize that. And I think that's bring us to that first point of awareness, right? Having awareness is the starting point for everything, for any change. If you want to change your results, if you want to change your health, if you want to change your life, if you just want to achieve a little bit more, you need to be aware where you are and what is going on in life.
So many things to ask.
I was like, I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. And I'm really liking that. Yeah, both of us tend to like going beyond the fluff and not hanging out at that surface level, but going to what's going on underneath, what's really happening. So let's talk about some of the stuff that doesn't get talked about all that often. So you've got power dynamics in leadership and the mental toll of high performance culture, because you were
Oh yeah.
you were a high flyer. And
Yeah,
then I don't like to say that you crashed and burned, but you kind of did.
I did. Oh, absolutely. That's such a beautiful way to say thank you. It's exactly crash and burn. And I actually burn out as well.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a mix of things, because when you are pushed by that security missing, like you don't have that basics in your life and you feel like nothing, you push, you push hard, of course.
Yeah.
And you try to perform. So for me, I'm actually really big fan of high performance, but with keeping in mind or being aware of well-being, and that's what nobody really had before, because we never really have these conversations about well-being, self-love, self-help. You need to relax, you need to pause, you need to sit in the stillness. Who knew that? And yes, old yogis and ancient cultures knew that, but we just kind of went with society on this high level of energy spent, I guess. So yeah, the question you asked was, what is the toll of it? Right. So, wow, there's a lot. Okay, so examples of my clients and myself, I can just combine. So basically, health is the first thing. So when we are actually trying to perform high all the time and we don't understand who we are, what is our capacity, what are our stressors, and how we can actually change that, and how we can actually feel the energy from inside out, well, basically through our body and our mind. And we need our mind and body healthy. We can't perform without that. So when we actually don't know how to regulate emotions and energy, I believe the health is the number one. So gut problems, right? It's constipation, it's bloating, it's allergies, food allergies. It's you can't digest food. And I was going through 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I had 21 food allergies because of stress and because of burnout, and I have none. So it's, and I didn't take any tablets. I because when I went to see doctors, they're like, I don't know what's wrong with you. You're fine. I said, no, I'm not fine. I can't eat. So so I
Yeah, and
said
that
that.
generally means that something's very, very wrong.
Yeah, but they couldn't find anything. The problem is that the energy that we don't talk about,
Yeah.
like that energy and emotions, we don't understand the biology, neuroscience. We don't understand what happened in our body when we are stressed and when we are performing. It's that internal pressure. We are basically functioning on cortisol and adrenal hormones, and that functioning on that beautiful mix of really bad hormones and neurotransmitters, they changing our organs. They are depleted from nutrients, and we just destroying our gut.
Yeah.
And we
It's one
know
of
that.
the basic things. Sorry, I didn't mean
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
One of the
No,
basic things with how stress works on the body. When we're in that fight or flight,
yeah,
all of the blood from our digestive system gets diverted to our muscles so we can fight the threat and run away from it.
yeah,
Our body responds exactly the same way to a psychological or emotional threat as it does to a
yes.
physical one. All it gets is that there's a saber-toothed tiger trying to eat me. I need to run away.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
you spend months with your digestive system not getting the blood supply it should be and not functioning the way that
Mm.
it should be, it has all sorts of knock-on
Yeah,
effects. But we
absolutely.
don't talk about that. So,
Yeah. Because it's not really Western medicine, it's actually combining different I guess modalities and teachings. And when you look at, psychology doesn't talk about it. Psychology should talk about a lot around the health, the body. So we're disconnecting basically the cognitive or analytical brain from our body, but they're connected. And probably, like, our gut feeling, if gut feeling, intuition is actually much smarter than our brain. So many times we getting answers from gut, right? So we feel it. And I was studying, like, why is that? Because I couldn't understand why I can't create relationships. That was another impact, right? So when you look at people running under stress, usually going through divorce, usually don't have great relationships with kids, or they don't have, relationships with the team members, and they basically more directing than leading. So it has massive impact on how we communicate, because like yesterday I was distracted and I was stressed, right? And I realized that, and I told my husband this morning, I said, I can't believe it. I forgot like 5 different things that were normal. And it's small things like, rubbish bins out, calling my brother because his name's day is yesterday. Luckily, they still have yesterday, today morning. So I was able to saving it. But it was like small things that I normally don't forget.
yeah.
So what happens actually with stress? We perform low, we have bad results. We can't become high performance on stress. High performers, yeah, that's a better word, on stress. So that's probably another toll. Relationships, health, or what else? I would say everything. I would say everything. Everything has it has impact on everything in our life. That's a lot. We can talk about the downsides, yeah, and
Yeah.
negative side a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And your experience with stress and with that led you to develop the CEB technique. Do you want to take us through that a little bit?
Yeah. So basically, what because I suffered with really bad, like a fear. It was physical fear. I was because we had 4 burglaries, like everything bad was happening that time, right? So you can imagine. It's like what we are, that's what we attract. And I didn't know that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. So I have this debilitating fear that I actually get into bed and I can't sleep and I feel stuck. And I was physically frozen in bed. When the leaf moved outside, I just freezed and I couldn't move. And it was so, I can't even explain how strong feeling that was, that I felt actually how those negative hormones and neurotransmitters actually flooding my body. Like I felt so sick. And I was like, okay, so what can I do? So I tried different techniques and I realized that cognitively, when I was thinking about the moving leaves and somebody's already coming in the house and it's going to kill me or is going to do something bad to me, I created stress, and that stress was bigger and bigger and bigger. So I realized that what I think, that's what I feel. And I said, let's try to change what I think. So I realized that, okay, let's try to think about a beautiful time in my life when I was, happy and I felt freedom. So I took myself in a place in visualization. It wasn't really meditation at that time. I didn't know how to meditate, but I was like, okay, so let's try to pretend I'm there. So I started to feel better, and I felt like my body was actually relaxing and it was changing. And I just felt this beautiful, warm feeling. And I was laying down in bed and I said, wow, nothing else changed. Only me, only my thoughts changed. So that was kind of the first sparkle of like, wow, okay, so what do we think? That's what we feel. And it's actually true. And then I was able to sleep. So I was changing my reality. I was actually starting to sleep better. And after like a year of being frozen in the fear, finally I was able to, sleep when I'm alone at home. And it was such a relieving, and I can't even explain how beautiful feeling it was, because I was depleted. Like I was so depleted energetically, and when you don't sleep, your mind doesn't function and you get all negative and depressed and anxious and all the kind of things. So it was kind of great way to start. So that was when I realized that cognitive and emotional and behavioral, all three levels has to change. So my behavior that has to change was every time when I was going to bed, I was actually just trying to get to sleep with thinking about that beautiful, good moment where I felt freedom and happy and joy, and I felt great in my body. So what I was doing, I had to create practice. So I started to practice a few different things, what I'm visualizing, what I'm thinking, how am I thinking, when I'm thinking about it. And that was kind of start of the CB method. And I realized after doing that in different areas of life, I slowly changed my identity. I slowly changed my personality, basically. And after probably a year, it took me a long time because it was kind of trial, trying new different things that nobody told you how to do. And when that actually started to work, I was like, wow, okay, so I'm a new person. My business is growing. My health is better. I'm happy. I call my family more often. All these things, like all the relationships started to change. And I think there was another part of that when I realized in leadership, when you are not yourself, when you don't know who you are, what do you do or how you act, you try other people to change. You tell them, you need to be different, you need to be more fun. Like my husband, poor guy, it's like, you need to be more fun, please just, let's lose some weight, like we became these lazy people, like let's change that. And I was like, no, I'm not going to change anything, right? But with me changing through my, the shifts slowly, and being more happy and starting to bring more healthy habits and all these things. So all the behavior has to be connected with your mindset shift and emotional shift. And yeah, it just became absolutely amazing. And my husband, he just basically followed me. I didn't need to tell him anymore what to do. And he lost 16 kilos. He went back to his, exercise and training. He loves his jujitsu, and he was professional athlete. So for me, seeing that person that is not even going to gym anymore, it was my doing. And I was like, wow, okay, so let's see how I can change it through me. And it was beautiful to see that. So I always believe, or when I start to talk about conscious leadership, is that it all starts with us. It all starts internally within us. If we know ourselves and have awareness about who we are, what we think, what we feel, how we behave, and how we impact people, that's when everything changes. And naturally, people will be with us, because if you know that you're impacting someone negative way, you need to change that. So
Yeah. But sometimes it's hard to pick up that mirror and look at ourselves. It's always so
always.
to look at the other person and go, you're the problem, you need to change. But the interesting thing is when we actually look at ourselves and make those changes that we're seeing need to happen around us in ourselves, then those changes happen around us without us.
Yeah. Yeah, you said it perfectly. And I think there's another method that I realized that it's funny when you look at yourself in a situation with people and you just look at yourself from helicopter view, like you looking at yourself as a second or third person, right? So when you see yourself, I always said if you don't know who you are, just look at, from above and watch yourself, basically. Just watch yourself like you're watching your movie. So watch yourself during the day, what you're doing, what you're saying, how you feeling, and you realize who you are. So it's almost like that psychologically we can disconnect and we can, take the seat of observer and that was like, no, this is not me. So yeah, it's hard. I think it's
Yeah.
always hard to look at ourselves and say, yeah, actually, I'm the one, right? I'm the problem.
Yeah. But it's so worth it when we actually do, when we take that time
Yeah.
to, as hard as it is, to do that work. And then we see beautiful changes happen around us. But yeah, transformation doesn't happen instantly as much as we wish it would.
Yeah.
It takes time to get from where you are
Yeah.
to where you want to be, but also sometimes we lose ourselves in what's going on, and it takes time to find ourselves again and to remember
Yep.
who we are and what it is that really does matter, because it's so easy to get caught up in the crazy.
I agree, absolutely. And it's so easy to lose ourselves. And I agree. It's hard, especially when you are, in business or you work hard, you have family, and you're trying to take care of everyone. And when you're that person that really cares about people, yeah, it becomes, you become second or third. And easily you can lose everything who you used to be or who you want to be.
Okay, so you touched a little bit on conscious leadership, and you're speaking at Leadership Week coming up in May.
Yeah.
And you've got your work with the mentoring effect. So, what is it that is lighting you up, that's reminding you who you are and what you want to do? And where are you heading in the next couple of years?
Oh, wow. It's actually funny because a few people already asked me that I never shared that. And I was like, wow, this is coming to be very scary because I'm sharing my vision and I'm sharing that with people. So now I have to live it, right? So I
Nothing
realized,
like accountability.
yes, exactly. It is actually really, because I think it's a little bit scary because I think I put myself in a situation that I put a little bit bigger goals, but now it's not coming from what was before. It was coming from, I want to have more money, I want to be rich, I want to mean something, all these things that were more that psychological level 1 or 2 when you look at, emotional evolution. And I realized that today is not about money, and money is just the side effect of everything what we do in the world. And what is really important for me is feeling, the fulfillment and feeling the purpose and being with the right people. That's the probably mantra I can talk about every day. It's like just meeting the right people, connect with the right people, and connect on a deeper level. So what really makes me happy is we are starting to do more like a retreat style and community building, but from perspective of making people finally to belong, to feel like they are listened, like we are hearing them, and we are not just being there and posting, but we are actually in the room with them and we are actually having conversations. So for me, having the retreat with actually 8 male, what was the very first time, and I didn't target it, male or any kind of gender. I just, I was selling the retreat. It was interesting to come to the point that I realized that 50 plus, those 49, year old, 60 years old male are exactly people. They were working hard all life. They were going through all the burnout and they are in the identity of provider. I have to provide for my family. I'm the one that needs to bring money and take care of kids, take care of wife, and all this kind of like a seed of provider that is pushing them all life so hard. And they lost themselves, they lost emotions, they don't know what they feel, they don't know what they like. So many of them, they don't even have hobbies or, like it just doesn't work because they didn't have time.
Yeah.
So usually they go on holiday, but they can't even relax because they still need to feel like need to do and provide and create results. So that was such a beautiful space to be with people where they cry, they laugh, and they really truly became themselves again. And everybody was very different. And I just really thrive in that space because I was so connected. We were so deeply connected. And I realized the magic or the genius or my genius, I don't like to call it genius, but like the strength that I have was actually creating that safe space where people actually can come and they can talk, they can feel, they can do whatever they need to do. And I'm kind of hungry for that now. So for me, it's like, wow, I want to experience that selfishly. I want to experience that because it really truly made me happy, made me like I'm at home, made me feel like I belong with these people, and made me feel like they left and they felt great. And that feeling that we were able to create experience was transformational for me. So that's kind of space where we are moving more and trying to see or show people that you can have communities, you can have your groups, you can have your group coaching, you can leverage, but you need to know how. You need to have real structured conversations and dialogues. They don't look like they're structured, but make people feel and make people connected to you. So they feel like they are actually part of something. Because everywhere I went, every group, I'm still part of some groups, but I left most of them because I never felt like I mean something, like I'm there and people even care. So if people feel like that around me, I'm failing. I don't want anyone to feel that way. So that's my kind of vision of creation. So we're creating experiences, retreats, some crazy ones that when you come, actually you don't know what will happen. So it's not going to be it's a mixture of, I would say, smart spirituality. I don't know if I can call it that way, but we are not going to, do strange things and dance naked or something, or jump naked to the lake. Like we don't do that because I don't think that's part of spirituality. I believe spirituality is just being, the ethical human, being connected to yourself, understanding who you are, being aware, and build up on that awareness, who you want to become, and dive deeper into your soul. I think that's spirituality, right? Or being in servant position, that's spirituality. Being conscious, that's spirituality. So I want to keep it in that boundaries. So don't expect some woo-woo, too many woo-woo things, all science-based tools and techniques. But the major thing is that create environments, create more of those environments, create more of those experiences. And yeah, the big vision is to create a space. So right now I actually find something that is massive property, beautiful house and a beautiful place with massive greenery. And I'm honestly just trying to see what will happen because it costs around 20, 30 million. Like it's a little bit ridiculous, but I was thinking, look, it's achievable, and I'm hoping that I will meet people on the way next few months and years, that we will be able to connect and maybe co-invest and co-create, because I believe that space should be open to everyone. Everyone who is honest, who want to be open, who want to actually have those conversations. So yeah, it's there.
That's very, and you're right. So many ifs. We're looking for, humans, we're hardwired for connection. And we're searching for belonging, for that space to be who we are. I love how Brené Brown puts it, that fitting in and belonging are not the same thing.
Oh yes, I love that you say that, because fitting in, it becomes very toxic,
Yeah.
especially for you, right? Like for us when we are trying to fit in. And I tried it all life. When I moved to Perth, I was trying to find myself by fitting in.
Mm.
That is so wrong, and it was detrimental because it cost me health.
Yeah.
It's not, no. Yeah, you said that so well.
Then when you find that place where you belong, that's when you get lit up. That's when you then
Yeah,
can create those changes and be more of who you are and bring
yeah,
more of that connection into the world. When you're constantly trying to be something that you're not and to fit into an environment that doesn't fit you. And I think that's something that a lot of women, and a lot of women in leadership roles,
yeah.
would understand too. Like, I know my mum was the clerk of the court, so very male oriented field. And I used to love, she had a sign up in her office that was do you want to talk to the man who's in charge or the woman who knows what's going on? She just happened to be both of those, but we do function very differently depending on the groups that we're in. And for a long time, way back when, I'll start showing my age, but if you wanted to be successful in those more male oriented fields, then you had to be that little bit tougher, that little bit harder, not so much the relationship, the connection that wasn't always there. It was just the get the job done, and
Yeah.
that's
And Sarah, there is one thing that I probably want to mention because there is a big problem when I'm looking at, because I'm usually connecting with general managers, CEO. So when you look at the C-suite level executives or higher management, and 95% people are still male, and that's okay. Look, it's evolution, right? We know that because there was totally different society, 50 years ago, totally different approach when my mom, was raising us. And I believe we need to give that time, because what we do, we as a female, we try to fit in, just with that what you said. I would probably disagree a little bit, because we don't need to toughen up. The problem is that all female are trying to bring masculine energy in a leadership role, and we don't need that. We are actually in leadership role because of our feminine energy. It's combination of feminine and masculine. And I think what was happening here, I'm sure you saw it a lot, right? So it they are beautiful women. They can beautifully manage and combine masculine and feminine, really healthy and resourceful way. And I think that's the winning part, winning sauce. But you have a lot of women that they think they need to be, tougher,
yeah,
and they became more directors, right? Like they direct, and they become, it's toxic because it's too much masculine, because they don't know how to balance that, how to actually be the right. And I always said, just be you, because you got the role because of you. So just continue being you, because relationships and feminine energy, relationships with people can give you more than look when people look at you and say, "Oh, she's tough, right? Or she's good, or she's, she can, well, we trust her." I think having the clarity about vision, about yourself, being aware of who you are as a leader, understanding what your strengths are, that brings the authenticity. And when you're authentic leader, I believe people will follow you naturally, because they will be like, wow, she believes in this, so she must know something that I don't know, right? So naturally people will follow and want to be around you. The moment people try to fit in, or pretend they're something else, and put the mask on of, being better, bigger, smarter, tougher, whatever it is, it becomes repelling. So, moving to energy, we didn't talk about energy a lot, but that's coming with identity shift, right? When you are identity, emotions are energy. So when you are something else, and you trying to push, it's actually causing a lot of stress as well, because you are putting mask on, and it's stressing you out inside, because you try to push different personality. And that's when we are losing our, the I don't want to say capacity, but it is a little bit of, smartest. Like we don't get smart enough, because as you said, fight or flight mode, depleting the energy and the blood. So we are actually not using our intellect. So all these things actually combine. We know the best way to live life is actually being authentic and being aware and building ourselves from inside out.
yeah.
So yeah, it's hard. Like in leadership, that's a lot of things. There are still mix of beliefs, wrong beliefs and myths, and building leadership as a skill. I think it's silly. I think building leadership from understanding who I am, what is my leadership style, and how naturally I can be leader, not fitting in, but standing out as me. I think that's more powerful than anything.
Yeah, because we don't all have to do it the same way,
Exactly.
because we're not made to. Like, each one of us has a special gift that only we can give to the world. And
Uh,
trying to do things your way, it's not going to work.
yes. Yeah. And I love what you said, because that's the same thing with coaches, right? Like when you look at coaches and mentors, coach is here to not give you idea to do it one way. It's here to open your mind, open, your blind spots. And I think that's where, like, I had a lot of business coaches, and sometimes they were pushing me to do one thing one way. And I said, mate, 9 phone calls today, not going to work for me because that's not me. I want to see these people and I will see one person, but I will see them face to face. That works for me. So you need to know yourself. That's the best thing, right? Like we need to know ourselves. I think that's the one.
That's a perfect thing to put on, because one of the questions I always ask is, what conversation do you think we're not having that we need to? And I think what you were just speaking about of how leadership and doing things differently might just be one of those. So do you want to unpack that a little bit more for us?
I think what we
Or if
don't
there's
talk.
something else you want to talk about.
Yeah. Look, I love your question because I think there is everything what we don't talk about, everything important. I think we don't talk about in any settings about anything important. Like we forget to forget to open the conversations, or we are scared to open the conversations. So all of us, and I'm sure now everyone who is listening has something that you want to say, you want to express. It can be in your work environment, it can be with your husband, wife, it can be with your kids, but you're scared because you're worried that you will hurt someone. I think we don't have those conversations, and that those conversations are most important in our life, but also most important for the other person to hear that. We are so scared to give feedback. The best friend, your brother, sister, we are so scared to tell them what we see. And if we start to share what we see kindly, with empathy, with respect, we will help people to grow. So I believe that's what we don't do.
When we ask ourselves, as you said at the start, what would love do?
Yeah.
And holding back and not giving that feedback in a kind, loving way is not what love would do. Biting your tongue for fear of hurting someone, all it does is end up that you're the one that's hurting. Because
Yeah.
And sometimes we do hold back for good reason, but we then need to find a way to get that out as well. And we need to say those things that will help somebody, because you never know when your story might be the thing that shifts everything for someone else.
Absolutely.
But Alex, I'd like to thank you for being here today. I know we could both chat for ages because of our shared backgrounds in energy work and in holistic healing, of combining all those aspects of ourselves together and working on that. We just might have to get you back for another episode.
Sarah, I love the conversation, and you ask amazing questions. It's really beautiful to unpack things that actually no one asks you, even on podcasts or in life. So I really enjoy that and enjoy to talk about what we don't talk about. And I think there's so many things we can talk about again. So thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to actually meet you here in person almost.
Yes.
And, and having a conversation, and not only listening to your podcast, but also having the real conversation. And I appreciate your authenticity.
Thank you. And that is why I started the podcast, because I'd seen so many people going through similar experiences, but not talking about it and feeling so completely alone in what they were going through, that I wanted to say, hey, there's lots of us who've been there. And if we start talking about it, we just might help each other. So that's what we're going to keep doing. For those of you that are tuning in today, if this episode hit home, then please share it with a friend, with a team, with somebody who might be stuck and needing to move forward, and it just needs that permission to do things a little differently, to do things their own way and find what works for them. So you'll find all of Alex's links in the show notes, including how to connect with her, explore the CEB method, or join her at Leadership Week.
Yeah.
Alex is talking at a couple of conferences coming up soon.
Yeah.
You've got Leadership Week and you've got
Total Disruption. Yeah, and there's a few others, so it's coming a little bit crazy April and May. So we had yeah, an anesthetic, we have doctors, and dental industries. So yeah, it's a quite busy time of the year, but it's exciting. Yeah.
Okay. And as always, if you're loving these conversations, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, reach out and tell me what's resonating, or even better, tell me what you want to talk about. Or if there's somebody that you want me to reach out to have a conversation with, let me know that too. So until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Remember, you are not alone and your story really matters. So please keep sharing it. We'll see you next time.